How you doing? I'm Gene Galvin. My trail name is Screen Door, and this is Screen Door's Tips for Older Backpackers. Why older backpackers? Well, I'm 76 years old, so I fit that demographic. Now, may have some younger viewers to this YouTube channel who want to see what a person who's had 60 years of trail experience is saying about gear and what the evolution has been. I certainly respect younger backpackers. I see them as being very innovative, and so I learn from them. Maybe they'll learn some things from me. We'll see. It all started for me when I was a kid in grade school. I was a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout, then an Explorer Scout. And I knew pretty early on that the outdoors really resonated with me. And then I got into college, and I didn't backpack during college. I was too busy studying, partying, had a part-time job. But I studied literature. My major was English, and in the process of studying English, I came in contact with the writings of people from a period called Romanticism. So we're talking Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Mary Shelley, Jane Austen, Edgar Allan Poe. And most of these writers from the period of Romanticism were pantheists. They believed that nature was God. They believed that the places of nature were like churches and sometimes cathedrals if they were spectacular enough. They referred to sublime scenes of nature. And that all resonated with me. I got out of college and I went back into backpacking and have done it my whole life. And where have I been? I've been the Camino Trail in Spain, but most of my stuff has been in the U.S. and it's been everywhere on the West Coast, the Donner Pass near Sacramento, Joshua Tree, Yosemite National Park, been in Idaho, the Sawtooth Mountains, multiple trips to northern Montana, Glacier National Park, Grand Tetons in Wyoming, up north to the Kekakovik Trail on the boundary waters of Minnesota. I've been backpacked on Isle Royal, a national park that's in the middle of Lake Superior. Certainly Appalachian Trail sections of that. I've done hundreds of miles, maybe bordering on 1,000 miles. Red River Gorge, which is, I live in the northern part of Kentucky, and that's not far from where I live. And then later in my backpacking career, I kind of got into Alaska, and I spent 13 summers backpacking in Alaska. All over the state, Wrangell St. Elias on the east side for multiple trips, above the Arctic Circle to the gates of the Arctic, down to the Kenai Peninsula, multiple trips to Denali National Park. Then I found Lake Clark National Park, a park that you can only get to by bush plane or boat. And I started the backpack there, and then I learned from a person who was a backcountry volunteer of that concept. And I got on the phone with the chief ranger of Lake Clark National Park over the winter, and it seemed like I spent hours talking to him, and he was vetting me for my experiences, my how I felt about bears. Did they scare me? And the answer was no. And you know, we talked and talked, and he finally invited me up to do some volunteer work up there. I worked on some backcountry remote cabins that were former trapper cabins that they were refurbishing. I eventually started working for parts of the summer at a place called Chinitna Bay, which is a bear viewing area where there are many bears there. Each day I'd see 10, 20, 30, 50 bears. Mothers with cubs, mothers with sometimes triplets, bears walking around everywhere because the food was so plentiful. And so I worked for parts of each summer for probably 4, 5, 6 summers up there at a place called Chinitna Bay where they had this bear viewing area. And so I became, you know, pretty comfortable and maybe compared to some people, pretty knowledgeable about bears. I always had defenses, you know, always had some pepper spray at times. National Park issued 12-gauge shotgun with deer slugs. Never had an issue. And I became kind of not only respectful, but I came to love seeing bears because it was such a reminder of how wild America can be. Some parts of America can be. So I've got these tips that my future videos are going to kind of flesh out. I call them Screen Doors Tips for Older Backpackers. And let me just outline them for you, and then as I say in future videos, we'll kind of really dig into this. And obviously we're going to do, we're going to look at gear and swap some stories and talk about bear safety, river crossings in Alaska. Way more dangerous, by the way, than any incident with a bear, just crossing braided rivers and streams in Alaska. So we'll get into that, how to do that. My tips will be kind of, how you could start becoming a backpacker if you're in that older demographic, but maybe some people will watch who've had the same experience as I have and just enjoy kind of checking out the experiences of someone else. That's perfectly fine. So here are my tips, just to outline them. There are 6 or 7 of them. The first one is, first and foremost, you got to be having fun. I do this mainly for fun. Sure, I follow the notions of John Muir, the great adventurer / conservationist, who says that nature has tremendous healing powers, physical, psychological, spiritual. I believe in all that. But the first reason I go backpacking is to have fun. So that'd be my first tip. Make this fun. The second one kind of relates. You've got to go light. Gear has evolved so much over the years, and as it has evolved, it's gotten much lighter. And that's one of the ways I suspect they get us to come back again and again to buy more gear, and I'm certainly guilty of that. The third one, and it's also related, is you got to stay comfortable, whether it's staying warm at night, whether it's carrying a light enough load that going up and down these mountains, which if you're on the Appalachian Trail, the AT, it seems like all day you're going up or you're going down, one or the other. The next one is you got to be safe. And again, we're going to look at all these in more depth in the future, but I'm going to talk about safety, what things to have with you that relate to safety, maybe a signal whistle, a decent first aid kit with basic elements that I'll go over. Something I always carry is I've got a Spot Messenger. I'm about to get a Garmin InReach Mini, because with that one you can communicate back and forth via text messages using satellite. So if you have no cell power, you still have a way to be in touch, and there is the important SOS button on it. Be aware that if you push that button, they are going to come. So you don't want to push that button unless you want them to come, because they may be risking their lives and certainly taking their time, might even cost you for a rescue. But man, it would give you great peace of mind knowing that if you had, especially as an older backpacker, some issue, you can push that button and help will be on the way. The next one, and my advice may be a little different than some of the other people you'll hear on and see on YouTube channels, and that is about money. I say spend wisely, but you got to spend. This is an activity that costs some money. No different from golfing or boating, motorcycling. I've been a motorcycle rider. I got out of it, but I was in it for many years. Harleys and other bikes, and they cost me a lot of money. So my money is spent on backpacking gear primarily. It costs very little once you're to the trailhead. I go to national parks, national forests, state parks, places where it doesn't really cost once you get there, but you got to have the right gear. So be prepared to spend a little bit of money. And by the way, I'll always patronize local kind of boutique outfitters, outdoor stores. There's one not far from where I live, Milford, Ohio. I live in the northern part of Kentucky, but Milford, Ohio has one called Roads, Rivers, and Trails. Great bunch of people, and they have excellent gear. They know exactly what they're doing. They're all outdoorsy people themselves, very experienced. Or REI, where I've been shopping since the 1960s. My first gear came from there. The next one is let nature heal you. As I referenced before, John Muir was big on that. Nature has a healing power, and he felt, I feel, and a lot of people feel that human beings, men and women, need, all of them, 100%, need to be in nature to some degree. Even people, what's the old joke, camping for me is a black and white TV at a Howard Johnson's. No. I really think all of us need to be outside. Some people just probably don't know it. But let nature heal you. My last one is hike your own hike. It's a saying that you hear a lot out on trails. Through hikers use it all the time. But you've got to kind of make the hike yours. And I mean that by every day, every morning, every afternoon. You'll see through hikers and experienced hikers may camp out together at night. They get up in the morning and they break camp. And they all go out one at a time, and they'll be strung out on a trail. They may meet up at a stream crossing or for lunch or clearly at the end of the day. But you got to set your own pace. You have to, there are exceptions to that. Obviously, you see sometimes married couples hiking together. Not saying you got to hike alone, but I'm telling you, more often than not, there are people who, when they're out on the trail part, are finding their own rhythm. And you can't let someone else tell you what the pace should be, what mountains you should or go up, what snow fields you should cross. You got to hike your own hike. And I really believe in that. So if you're somebody in the older demographic, you think this may appeal to you, I ask you, hit like, subscribe, come back. I'm going to have videos off in the future specifically tailored for older backpackers, both new ones and ones who have been doing it like me their whole lives. See you next time. Peace.